And we are live. Welcome back to another episode of On the King's Dime. Brand new year, brand new decade, same old Kings. Andy, how are you, mate?
Mate, it could be better days. My teams of basketball world are not doing too well, so I've had a bit of a crap start to the the new year.
Yeah, a bit of a disappointing end to 2019. A couple of L's against Perth and Illawarra, and we're going to be going through those very shortly. But as always, remember to subscribe all the way across the bottom there. We have a Facebook page. Subscribe to that. We're on Twitter. I'm shaming myself on Twitter, whinging about stuff. It's fun.
It's
It's good to get that off my chest. And then we also have a Patreon up here if you want to help us get a host, because we don't have a host anymore. We're working on that for Podcast Addict and iTunes. We were uploading them, but now we can't because Podcast Addict. No, I can't remember. Podbean, yeah, won't let us do that anymore. But just give us a few dollars. That'll go towards that if you're feeling generous. Anything else we need to plug? We've still got to do our half seasons turning into a kind of quarter season. Three-quarter season, almost like it's starting to become the possibility of like a support group now that our forms kind of hit a bit of a rocky patch.
Well, I think it's good because now you get a sense of where the leagues move to. A couple of teams have signed some really good imports, and you can see that generate straight away. See some of the younger teams like Cairns who have really come leaps and bounds. Adelaide working their stuff together, and everyone finding faults in Sydney, and Sydney just not doing too well. So it'll be interesting, I think, in that to get a bit of a vindication on what's been happening in the last month and why that's been going ahead.
Does it feel to you like we'll just start by just talking generally about the Kings finishing the season with a bit of a bad patch? I think lost 5 of our last 8 to finish the year out. 2019, I think it was. Feels like this team could up the level of hustle, and it'd meet the level that these teams are bringing to us. But a few of these last couple of games, we've tried that, and then it's just been like we've juked it out and lost. And it's like, if you play hard all the time and keep that rhythm up and that intensity up, we're like at the start of the season, we're winning games, but it feels like we've taken a couple of gut punches in the last, month. Maybe that's wavered this team a little bit, the team spirit. We've lost a couple of players too.
Lost a couple of players. I mean, Kevin Leach is still a massive loss, but we were winning without him. I think Craig Moller's probably been the biggest loss. Really, is that we're still the worst offensive rebounding team in the comp, and we were still that bad, even though we were winning games. So something had to change, and I think that we're really seeing it now with, Jae'sean Taylor, guys that have come into the squad, maybe not found rhythm each game out, and then if they don't find that spark, there's 10, 15 points down the drain, and we don't make that up. I think Casper Ware's probably having the worst season of his professional career. Even at nights, well, you've got to think, even at nights, scoring the 3-ball less than 30%. We're turning into the Houston Rockets of the NBL, like putting up just ridiculous amounts of 3-point shots. We weren't doing that so much in the first 8 to 10 games. Bogut is just a shell of his MVP self last year. In minutes. Maybe Will Weaver's going to this kick it a little bit too early again. Maybe we're seeing a little bit of Gazy's time structure. I've seen that in a few games. It's like, all right, 4 minutes, 30 seconds, kick it's on the floor. It's just like, let's keep the momentum going in this quarter and get Bogut in for the whole quarter and see what we can actually do and achieve, and see if we can't put a good, dent in something. But it just seems like we're going to these timed rotations again. We're obviously missing DD as well. I think defensively that makes a big problem. Having that oversized 2-guard and good defensive small forward. Xavier Cook slotting into the lineup. A lot of players in and out without really bringing on a pure scorer as well. Yeah. That's what we've got to think. All these other teams they bring like Glenn Rice Jr., even though he's only in for 3 games before he bashed someone.
Allegedly.
Well, he did. Allegedly. Scoring 25 points a game. Look at Scott Hobson. I said that for the Breakers, man.
Which Hobson? Scott Hobson? Or because I think there's a Hobson now and there's a Scott Hobson.
The American one.
I think they're both American, but there's a Hobson and a Hobson. But you said Scott Hobson, and I was like, Hang
Maybe
on,
it was
which guy are you talking about? Because there's a guy at Illawarra, Hobson, who was pretty bad against Illawarra. Spoiler alert, we're rushing a bit ahead talking about Illawarra, but
no,
I
New
think you're
Zealand
talking
break.
about Scotty Hobson. Yeah, man.
Scotty
I
Hobson.
quietly hit a few like just dagger game winners, destroying my tipping for the week. That was fun. But I think, yeah, you're right. I think over the last couple of months, the natural scoring teams are starting to come, like, let's get into a rhythm and starting to play more with more intensity and raise their game. And I feel like the Kings haven't really met it. Like, there's still a few little, schematic things we're struggling with. The chemistry with Bogut and Casper West still a little bit iffy. And then, Brad Newley's kind of still doing his thing. Jae'Sean Tate doesn't really score the ball from outside of 3 feet. And I feel like there's no third or second jump shooter in this team. Like, it was Lish, who could come off the screen, shoot the ball from the foul line or the elbow. We don't have that. And a lot of these teams have that now. Like, you got guys like Newell, who's been playing really well. Even sort of Kawatnoi and Oliver's been shooting. And then we saw Boone just have a crazy night again. Like, these teams now are starting to drive and then just pass the ball to the elbow. And we're like, oh, Bogut's still in the paint. There's no one there. And they're just getting a wide open look every time. Perth have done it as well in this game as well. And Melbourne do it quite well. But we just don't have that third jump shoot. Or is it third jump shoot or second jump shoot? Because really it's second. I can't think of who else. Like, Lish is injured. You're not going to see Brad Newley shoot a foul line jumper or an elbow jumper. And we don't have a power forward, like a legitimate power forward that's a scorer. Like, you're not going to see Kickett shoot a jump shot from the elbow.
No.
Cooks still doesn't really want to shoot the ball. He's hesitant a little bit to shoot the ball, but I'm not sure. We've got to find that schematic guy, because we don't run that much pick and roll. Like, I was looking through a lot of the highlights.
We don't run any pick and roll, and we don't run anything into the mid range, because, like you said, we've only got Casper Ware's got a bit of a float game, but no one else has any float game. You look at some of the
nobody, man. Even Ware's floater game is not great. Like, it's not that reliable. Like, you watch Cotton. I suppose if we're comparing it to guys we're playing against, you look at Cotton, man. The couple of games they beat us in the last 2 games, his floater game has just been crazy because he's just so quick. He gets past the screener and then just has a wide open floater because Bogut doesn't really step out. And in the game we beat them, Tariko White didn't play, and then in the last 2 games Tariko White's played. He just gets elbow jumpers like for days. Like, he had a few of them in this game against Perth, where Bogut just doesn't step out. Kickett tries to step out, and he's going to get beaten on the roll anyway. So it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other with that. But man, Bogut just seems to kind of wander around in space and not step out at all. And I don't know. I don't know if we can look at that and clean that up for a guy, a 35-year-old veteran. Are you really going to go, mate, you got to play harder, step out and do this and that? Like, I don't know. I just don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah, I think we've got to start playing some man defense. Even if Bogut's got to come by and they, blow past him a couple of times, I think it's going to take a lot of that mid-range pick and roll. And I said this from the beginning of the year, man. If any teams master the mid-range, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Because he's great in the paint and we're good on the line, but they just got to get into the mid-range. As soon as, and no team was scoring the ball well for 10 games against Sydney at all. And now it's all kind of hitting their strides. They're getting into that form. They're playing as a team. It's just like, all right, we can just work in the mid-range. And I have to say, Will Weaver hasn't really schemed well enough to change that narrative. I could see that narrative first 10 games of the season. It's like, oh, sweet. They're just not dropping. Maybe this league isn't good enough. And then all of a sudden, all these teams are like, oh, yeah, we can score for the mid-range now. We've got our eye in, and it's flowing, and that's how it's working. We'll just set a high screen. We don't even need to shoot the 3 ball, and we'll come in and just score an elbow jumper or a little floater because Bogut won't step out and Kickett's too slow. I think maybe we've got to see Cooks at the 5 or Jordan Hunter come in, someone that's a little bit quicker to change the narrative of this mid-range game, getting them going to the 3-point line or trying to go to the bucket. We've got to change something here because the tactics are not working. We've seen it the last 8 games. Even the 3 games we won were pretty close. They weren't deep garbage minutes like we were getting in the first 10 games. So
no, we pretty handily beat Melbourne. We pretty handily beat Melbourne again, bar some crazy late shooting. And then I felt like we beat Southeast Melbourne. We've got Southeast Melbourne's number because they don't have jump shooting big, basically.
Pretty
Like
much.
these teams with jump shooting bigs, they just destroy us. And I was looking through, watching some of the footage today because I'm going to do a video on our offensive struggles and our defensive struggles. And the amount of times players will just dump the ball off and it'll be a K. Even Hunt for Perth has it like a hook or a jump or a one step. And you watch it, you compare it to Bogut's offense, man. And Bogut's offense just looks like it's so taxing. You know, you don't know which way he's going, where he's headed. Like, is he going to turn off his left or is he going to step through on his right? And he seems to sort of like have to gather and bounce off people before he can put up a shot. Like, it's not like he doesn't catch the ball in these good positions, naturally get it, you know, off a one step turn, go away. Like these guys like Kay who can shoot these jumpers. I think it's a sort of underrated hamstring on this team that he can't shoot like a 7-8 foot jumper.
Yes.
And then if you look at Kickett just doesn't shoot jumpers. He goes into back down mode straight away when it doesn't matter who it is. He just backs down and you're like, Kicks, like shoot a jumper or something, man.
Kickett's a stretch 4 that's playing in a 5 role because they can't play Jordan Hunter.
And then
that's really what it is.
The other thing too, like Xavier Cooks is 1.6 blocks a game in his first 5 games. But at the same time, offensively, I don't feel like he gives any punch at all.
No, it doesn't give punch, but they're the kind of sets where you can put a small ball lineup on because you could run guys off the line and expect Cooks to step out to the mid-range because he's quick enough to do so. So you can play small, like that lineup we saw. We saw it the first game. It was against Southeast Melbourne. As we saw the four small and Cooks at the 5, and I thought this lineup's really good because one, it's quick. We can play to the guard strength, which is speed ball. Every other team wants to slow us down. I think once we get out into transition, we can score a lot better. Jae'Sean Tate gets more ISO and can score around the rim, and Cooks can step out to the mid-range, and it seems like we have some really good line defensive guards. The other thing that we don't do too well is switch on to the screen E. We kind of expect guys to fight around the screen when really they should be switching on because Bogut's camping in the paint. So really we're 4-on-5 defensively. Yeah. And it doesn't work, man. Every coach is like, yeah, we can just do this and this is our game. You know, if we hit 40%, we're going to win the game. And I'm really struggling to see how Will Weaver is.
Yeah, I don't think he has the personnel to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think now, this stage of the season, now gravitationally changing this to a switching team where Bogut plays a little higher, does a little less on the ball. I don't know if that's going to really work. Like, I don't think you make a change at that point of the season.
Is it Golden State? He's just like, hey, Bo, you're unplayable in this league.
But we don't have anyone off the bench. Like if we had, say someone like Magne, someone like that, where you're just like, this kid's can score the ball in the post. He can shoot 3. He's good. Like with Hunter, you're just like, I don't know what Hunter's given us, man. I don't think you're basically rolling the dice. It was a little bit like Pinot last year, where you're just like, I don't know what he's going to give us. Let's just roll the dice, put him out there, see what it is. Like Deng Deng was similar like that.
Yeah, but Deng Deng was good in the limited minutes we got. Deng Deng was like, hey, get this guy on the floor. He can shoot the elbow and has some skill, and then he's just fallen into oblivion. So
I think he's in New Zealand, but that's what I mean. You're still kind of just going, I hope it works. Like there's not any structure there. Like the guy off the bench really is Kickett, and to be honest, Kickett's played really well in the last couple of weeks. Had a couple of really good games. Had a really good game against Illawarra. He's shooting the 3-ball really well. I think he'd only missed one of his last 10 shots at one point there. I think they said it was 9 of 10.
That's the thing with Kickett, though, is that the whole system with Kickett is you have to rely on offensive efficiency to counteract defensive deficit in how they play because he can't step out. There's a lot of mid-range, there's floaters. He seems to get called for things even though he goes straight up and down every time. I have not seen him move his hands outside of any position, and yet he gets called for fouls. So that's...
To be honest, though, he hasn't really been getting called for that many fouls in the last few weeks, which is good to see. So hopefully, it's coming to a...
Maybe Will Weaver sent them a WhatsApp message saying, here, up and down, every game, boys, every game. Yeah. It is.
It's all over the place, though, man, these charge calls. Like, it almost doesn't matter how good or bad you are at defending. It just seems to be that randomly someone will hit someone and someone will fall over and it's just like, yep, charge. And then you go back and watch the replay and it's like, that guy was moving. He wasn't even trying to defend this guy. And you just like, we haven't seen that in the last 2 games. There was one sketchy one, I think, kick it drew. But our ability to really score the ball seem like, I feel like that's something lurking there that we're just like, ooh, that could be a real problem in the postseason. And it's not necessarily like we like to get into transition, and if a team limits us in transition, that's where we kind of go back to our sets, and the sets don't seem to be working that well. Like, you almost want to just go, Bogut, stop handling the ball at all now. Like, you're going to have to run end to end. But are you going to say that to Bogut? Like, you're not going to say that. You're not going to go, man, you have to run end to end. You have to just like cover the entire length of the floor, not bother coming up and initiating at all. I don't think you could do that to a guy like that at the stage of his career, to be honest.
Plus, he owns half the team anyway. It's like, man, no, I'm not doing it.
Take away Will Weaver's car park spot in.
That's it.
But,
really.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of the makeup of the team and where the league is heading, and where a lot of the other coaching is smart, is that you got to get these young centers who have a little bit of an elbow game, like you said, can maybe stretch the floor and play to the line. I mean, there's not a lot of other centers that will just sit in the paint and you know, kind of wait for people to come to them. And it was a strength last year, because everyone's just like, well, this is how we score. We get to the rim. We score. It's the NBL. We've just got to get to the rim. And they just all funneled into Bogut, and Bogut's like, yeah, man, I'll just block. And everyone's going, oh, all we have to do to beat Sydney is just develop a mid-range game. And
like,
bang.
make concerted efforts to drive, engage 2 guys coming over, and then the bigs always just rotates out to about 6 feet, and he's wide open, as we saw in the Illawarra game. Boone just every time, and he's just like, there's no way to sort of fix that really without that second big. Jae'Sean Tate is really good on the perimeter, switching onto guards, but then we go through stretches where we don't switch at all. Like a few times where Cotton will just run all the way back around, we don't switch. Casper has to come all the way through. They did that a few times in the Perth game, where Kay's now switched on to Casper and just scores over him, and he just like, he didn't need to come and change the scheme there. It's basically because Bogut gets trapped on one side because he's got to defend, you know, the rim. And it's feeling more and more like a concerted effort from these teams to just go, oh, right, we know exactly how to beat this system. And how many games do we give it now to go, we need to see some change, man. I'm not like flying off the handle, be like, what's going on?
No.
We're going to have to see in the next 6-7 games, something's got to change to make it, you know, before the narratives start forming, because Adelaide won tonight, beat Perth rather. You know, that's kind of kept us in top spot. I feel like, you know, we're being handed a few little things here and there in the last couple of weeks where we've kept our spot only because the other teams in the league are losing games. There's only 8 games to go. Perth only have 8 games. We've got 9. So, yeah, it's... I don't know, man. I need to see something. I need to go, right, you need to do this and that.
Yeah. It's got to be a little bit of change. All right, let's get to this Perth game, because I definitely want to talk about these down screens and just Tariko White and Cotton feasting all night with a down screen into a 3-ball or a mid-range floater, which either way can't be defended because Bogut or Kickett are camping in the paint. So you've essentially got a 5-on-4 defensive line, and that's Cotton's bread and butter, man. That's what he's done season after season, is set those down screens. He gets the 3-ball and he shoots, and he's fluky, but hey, it works, and it works very well.
He hits them in timely spots. That's the most annoying part. Like, Casper Ware spends so much time on the defensive end running around chasing him that by the end of these games he's just gassed, and you could kind of tell in this game that he was gassed at the end of that game. Like, he gave it like a real red hot go sort of in the fourth. I think we were slightly ahead before Bryce Cotton just hit 3 threes, like real timely buckets, and you're just like, But he comes off these double screens, like around the back, basically running from the baseline all the way out around screens, and we just don't switch. We just kind of let Casper chase him around, and it doesn't matter who it is. And Deshaun Taylor's the same. Like, he came out again and hit 3 buckets on Taylor before Taylor had a decent play on him. we're like, okay, yeah, nice, but the damage is already done. You know what I mean? Like he's already hit two shots over the top of him, and without Kevin Lish, I don't know, man. Like after these last two games, like the first game we beat them was a good representation of, you know, a team like it's the team we have matching up against their team, but they didn't have Tariko White. And then Tariko White's come into this team and they've just gone, all right, Tariko off this screen, you just get to hear and shoot jumpers all day. And we've gone, oh, we can't stop that. What do we do, guys? What do we do, sort of thing. And I don't know, like, part of me goes, is this strategy really going to work? Like in a playoff series, are we really just going to see Bryce Cotton shoot 24 shots? You know, go 5 of 11 from 2. Running around like a madman? Are we really going to, like, is this really going to work?
This works at a 40-minute game. In a 40-minute FIBA game, this works. In a 48-minute NBA game, it doesn't work. There's a lot more time. You've got to be a lot fitter. There's a lot greater depth because essentially the Perth team is 3 scorers. It's even less scorers than we have, but they're such efficient scorers in K, Cotton, and White that's all they need.
And they have streaky guys like Steindl, who didn't play in this game. Mitch Norton can be streaky too. He hit this bank shot, man, like just twirled across the lane, like going so far away from the key, just like whipped this bank shot, and it was hit so hard it bounced off the backside of the rim, went in. I was like, get out of here, man! Like where's those sorts of buckets for us? Like we never get. Like Newley didn't play well in this game too, and he's like just quietly in the last couple of games looked like he's struggling a little bit after being like quality really for a lot of that middle stretch of this season. I got a stat that'll blow your mind. The last 10 games, Brad Newley minus 58.
Ooh.
The last 10 games, Andrew Bogut minus 53.
Wow.
So it's a lot of our starters that are eating these problems, and then our bench, who is looking really good, like Sean Bruce. Shout out to Shawnee Big Balls Bruce, another plus 18 against the Hawks. So he's plus 89 in the last 10 games. Like he's basically holding this team together, really.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? That's what it's come to.
After the start of the season, like everyone was just killing it. Like it was such a concerted team effort. The ball movement was there. Taking a few punches, and now we're kind of struggling. It's a bit of a worry. The Perth team, I think, did Damian Martin get injured? I believe in about halftime, just after halftime.
Yeah, ankle issues.
I wonder how long he's going to be out for. He's an older kind of guy. And it's a little bit later in the season. They lost tonight, but the same thing is that didn't affect them at all. You know what I mean? Mitch Norton just played 21 minutes, and didn't affect them. So.
If anything, it'd probably improve their offensive rating. Well, dude, Damian Martin can't score at all in any stretch of the field. He can't score. Defends all right, but yeah, he's completely functionless in this system, and probably will retire at the end of this year. I would say, but yeah, that's.
How old is he? He's not that old, is he?
He's 34, 35.
Yeah, but that's not that old. That's not. You must retire old.
Yeah, if you can't score the ball, then you must retire.
Not Damian Martin, the cricketer. Jeez, I know how old that guy is. He's nearly 50. He's 35, man. That's not that old.
It's not that old. He's not really scoring the ball, so it's kind of like bye bye.
He's only slightly older than me, man. That's scary.
Yeah, but you retired a long time ago, so it's all good.
I don't think I ever got anywhere to retire. I don't think I ever made it to retire. That's to me, that's a worry, man, because with him out, it's like in this game when he went out, we didn't seem to kind of close this game at all. Cotton obviously playing really well. Just looking through our lineup, Cooks only 4 points, struggle. Brad Newley missed a few bunnies at the rim too, where you're just like, oh, Brad's finished. Brad, you missed that. Like, wow, I haven't seen that all season, where you're just missing these layups. Jae'Sean Tate only 6 points too, didn't get much around the rim. Quietly, I think Nick Kay's got his number a little bit defensively, guarding him. And then he's doing a lot of switching too when he's on the defensive end. I think tires him out a little bit. He's got to sort of help on Bryce Cotton. Bruce only 7 points off the bench. Kickett only 5 points off the bench. Deshaun Taylor, 3 of 6 from the field, 7 points. And if you're looking at this team, apart from Sean Bruce, who had 4 assists, the rest of them didn't really have any assists. And we play our best basketball. Like, we've had games where we've had like 20 assists, like crazy amounts of assists.
It's this whole. It's really just a kind of Casper Ware dial-up offense against Perth. We kind of just go missing in the wind in terms of moving the ball around because we're fighting just to get around Bryce Cotton. Shooting 9 in a row. So it's like, Ware just get some buckets quickly. I mean, Casper Ware had a great game this game, but he was absolutely wrecked by the end of it because he was running. They don't switch properly onto Cotton. I think that comes back to the fact that when on offense, teams are playing 5 against 4.
Yeah.
And we've got to even that out. Xavier Cooks played good minutes, +1 on the night. Not scoring the ball very well. Good rebounding. As a forward.
Just quietly, he's rebounding. I think he's the 3rd top rebounder since he's joined the league for rebounds per game. I think he's at eight rebounds a game. That's been important with Craig Moller out. He's going to have to do a lot of the rebounding.
It's exactly right. I mean, maybe when Moller gets back, if his injury isn't as bad, there won't be any scoring to be had, but at least we'll have that consistency of switching when Cooks isn't on the floor. Then we'll be able to have an oversized small forward who can rebound as well. But yeah, we've really struggled in scoring this game. No one getting into double digits, and that's really off the fact that too much ISO ball, too much trying to back down, a lot of silly late shot clock chucks and heaves, and just trying to dial offense up for Ware. It was just a little bit. It's a bit of a crap game to watch, actually.
Yeah, no, it was it had decent pace to it, man. I was cutting up clips today from the game, and every time we pushed out of a make, and every time basically off of a live ball, like a rebound, we'd push. So like trying to edit it, I'm like watching this like push. I'm like, oh, this is good. We're actually trying, but then we just get up the court and stop, and you're like, we've got guys in transition. Like, why are we bringing the ball up the court really quickly and then stopping? Like, you get up the court in 22 seconds and then the next 8 seconds, a guy's standing around. Just watching the way we dial up offense too. Like, Bogut arrives late and just demands the ball, and then you just like guys don't know how to cut properly. Like, if you watch that Warriors team, man, like very quickly they understood how to sort of split cut, pin guys down, sets like the Spanish style pick and roll screens from the back, like back screens. This team just doesn't do any of that. Like, you watch, like a lot of the times I'm sitting there watching the game, just going like at the TV, just going, you cut, you need to cut. Like, what do you like? It's like wide open. The cut's right there. Make the cut. And I don't know, man. Like, it's scary that it's 20 games in and you're just not seeing that really from this team. And Cooks hasn't really brought that. I don't think Cooks' specialty really is driving to the hole and scoring. Moller's not. Didi can do it, but he's kind of struggled. His inside game is very, like, he's got a bit heavy hands. And then Kevin Lish is the only other guy, and he's out, and that's kind of a big blow, really, for us. I think if we had him, we'd be a lot better team. And then Brad Newley, this game was a little bit off, didn't have the shooting hand, getting to the basket. What other notes? Yeah, six minutes. The last 6 minutes were in the bonus. Didn't shoot a single free throw.
Yeah, but that was crap.
Should we just?
No, we won't pivot. Well, we'll pivot to the reference because that seems to be the game.
Well, that's one of the things. Like this, there was 2 or 3 calls at the end of this game or like in the last 6 minutes of the game where you're like, that's a foul. No foul. Oh, interesting. And then into Cotton just getting fouls, and you're just like, what? Like, you didn't call that, and then like what? And I don't know, man. Like, we had 6 minutes in the bonus. I kind of felt, and like Conspiracy had on it, kind of felt to me that it was just like, nah, don't give him fouls. You know what I mean?
Well, there's quite one where Brad Newley got to the hoop and was quite clearly bumped off the. It didn't go in. Just like, yeah, play on.
Yeah. He was coming from like the weak side on the other side of the broadcast. Like under the front, down came baseline, just got bumped. Yeah, I saw that one. It's blowing up at that one. But it's just it's crazy. And then the unsportsmanlike foul too at the end, where they gotta do something about this, man. Like, to go league wide, it's like, how are you meant to stop the ball at the end of a game? Like, surely at the last 6 or 5 minutes of a game, you just go, that foul doesn't apply, unsportsmanlike doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Or last 3 minutes of a game, because that's the only way to stop the clock. Otherwise, you pressure, they just pass the ball around, and then somebody tries to like dig at it, and then just like unsportsmanlike, and you're like, but the ball was there. He's like trying to get the ball. Like I don't understand. Like we're trying to stop the clock here. It's a grey area where guys try and foul guys. Oh, that kind of looked like unsportsmanlike, and you're just like, do we need this in the game, man?
Yeah, that FIFA rule's kind of stupid. I don't like that at all.
Like I get the transition where you're stopping guys in transition. Like fair enough. Okay, I don't like the rule, but I'm like, okay, I get that. Like nobody wants to watch guys just getting fouled all the time. The game isn't 48 minutes like the NBA. These guys don't get 6 fouls. I don't want to, you know what I mean? Call that unsportsmanlike so people don't do it. But the end of game stuff, I'm just like, no, we don't need that.
Yeah, there's kind of no redemption. It's just like, oh, this game's over. They're 4 up. You can't foul them. What's the point of the last 2 minutes of this game?
But even like we've seen a few where you try and foul them normally, like get right up in them and then just like unsportsmanlike, and you're like you just like it's a hard foul and they're trying to get the ball, but isn't that the whole point? Like, I don't get it. It's a bit weird to me.
So this is the NBL, mate. Part-time refs. What can you do?
It's brutal. This game,
right, let's go.
They were average in this game. I thought a little bit. I don't think I have any other notes here for this game. Oh, they were switching out Wagstaff a lot, and he was just hitting threes, and it's just like that's another Bogut effect, where they know we've seen that in the last 2 games. They know to basically switch Bryce Cotton with Wagstaff or on Bogut using Cotton, switch Wagstaff on Bogut using Cotton, and he just gets a wide open 3 every time. He hit 2 of them, and that was brutal. Yeah, all right, let's move on to the Hawks game. That was dismal, man. That was an absolute dismal game to watch.
That was just. Oh, we've scored 30 points in the first quarter, and now we're going to score 50 for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
it was just crap.
And
it was jae'sean Tate. Pretty much, that was the only sole offense we had. Bit of Bruce, bit of Kickett, but everyone else was
Sean Bruce and Kickett played really well. They
That's what I meant. That's what I'm saying. Bit of Bruce and bit of Kickett on top of Tate, but everyone else was just crap. Everyone else was absolute trash. We're having a massively cold night. You can't have those nights if you're the marquee player, man. It's like 9 points is not good enough.
It's second game of back-to-back. I think that's got something to do with it. The other thing too, man, he just chases guys around. Again, it's just chasing guys, and then when you want him to do it on the offensive end, I've noticed too, he doesn't have like a go-to get himself going. You know what I mean? Getting himself going can cost 5-6 shots, 6 bricks sometimes. And he doesn't have I can do this and I know it's going to get myself going. You know what I mean? Like it's just, he just chucks bricks and then there's more bricks and more bricks. And then, he's hit a few threes now. He's going. Like, nice. You know what I mean?
It's the lack of the float game. Like a good float game. Yeah, and that's what seems to get a lot of the guys like White and Cotton going. And even Goulding, if Goulding's having a bad night, it's just like, all right, I'll just get into a bit of float. Oh, yeah, I've hit 2 right now, 3. Whereas, it's just Casper Ware early or really late in the shot clock, and it's hit the other side of the rim and bounced out, and no one's been around because it's just a chuck. And we don't crash the offensive glass at all.
Well, JT does, basically. JT's the only one that does it.
Yes. When really we should be doing...
His crashing the glass comes from so far away that unless the ball sort of bounces in the vicinity of where he can just fly in and take it, it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's not 2 guys standing under the rim, boxing guys out, waiting for it. It's just he flies through, and if he gets it, he gets it. If he doesn't, it's just like, well, the ball went that way, so I couldn't get it type of thing. And in this game, we saw, again, the chemistry between Bogut and Casper. A couple of times he had just Bogut on a lob, and he just won't throw this lob. And you're like, just throw the lob, man. Like, why? There was one where JT diving in to the hoop, and he kind of just turned it inside to him, and JT just dropped the ball. And you're just like, just throw it. Like, Bogut's standing there wide open doing this, like, up high. And it just, sometimes it just doesn't work. And
you should be going... Bogut is the tallest and probably the largest wingspan of any center in the league. You should be going to the Bogut lob 1 of every 4 plays.
Yeah, pretty much once or twice a quarter we should be running that. Double screen, Bogut cuts, slips it, But we're not really running that much dedicated pick and roll, on ball pick and roll that much this season. It's a bit of a
we're not really running much of anything really. You got to look at what it kind of facilitates is that we're not running a lot of back cuts. With Lazardo used to run a lot of back cuts from the line. Bruce does, but it's kind of dialed up. Okay, let's get Bruce open. Oh, the 3 balls hit. Okay, let's get kick it open. Let's drive and kick. Bit of driving, kicking, but no, like it's either open transition floor or drive and kick, but nothing really of any kind of setting double screens for the baseline cut or, Bogut, the dish from Bogut. Like, Cooks should be playing the weak side and Bogut should be dishing to Cooks when Casper's rolling to there's no double kind of plays. It's just like, oh, okay, you two are in a play or you two are in a play. And like the complexity of what they're trying to achieve is nothing. There's no mid-range game. So you've got to run some complex sets in order to get offense going. And I just don't see it.
If it breaks down to that's where we don't have, like, Casper Ware is that guy. That's, I think, why it's affecting your shooting numbers, because when it all breaks down, it's just Casper Ware's just got to try and get us a bucket. And it's happening a little bit too much. I don't like it. It's hard to stomach. And then it looks bad for him. He's having these nights where he's 3 of 15 and you're just like, yeah, but, probably 7 of those shots were like really badly dialed up sets where he had to just make something happen at the end of a shot clock. And then you look at guys like Tate all around the rim again, 91% around the rim, most of his shots taken around the rim. I think he was 0 of 3 from 3. And that's kind of very two-dimensional offense. It's very black and white offense where he's either at the rim or he's shooting a 3 and there's nothing in between. He's diving to grab boards. Cooks is diving a little bit as well, but he's not go-to offense. Brad Newley, remember like last year we'd get these zipper cuts where Newley would come around and then dribble down the lane, basically an open lane, like with a guy on his hip, and you knew he was there every time because he had the guy on his hip. I haven't seen that at all this year. Like, it's Brad Newley shooting these, 11 o'clock threes and corner. Like, I like corner Brad. He's probably best Brad, but he's shooting these 13 o'clock, like 1 o'clock threes, man. And you're just like, no, Brad. Like, no, put the ball on the floor and get to the hoop. That's not your shot. Like, corner three is your shot. And against Illawarra, look, shout out to Illawarra, man. They play hard and they have really nothing to play for. Rather than the, the hatred of Sydney, which is fair enough. I'm like, yeah.
I think they've also got the young guys are playing for, like, we don't need, number 1 draft pick to win games. We've got like Emmett Nair, who was a great college player, Daniel Greta. These guys got no run at the beginning of the season, and now they're getting a run. And it's just like, oh, it looks like a bit of a basketball team. Like, Emmett Nair should be putting up more shots. Seriously, like,
yeah,
why?
We saw him, like, I tweeted out, man, like, how many games did we watch of him where you're just like, this guy's just scared. He just doesn't want to shoot at all, ever. Like, he'll drive in and then just like, no, back it out, guys. Drive in. Oh, no, back it out, guys. And then there was that time he had like 20 assists or 30 assists, no turnovers, because basically he was too scared to shoot the ball. Now he's like hitting half-court chucks and stuff. Like, it's just crazy. 16 points. And he's a good scorer, and it's a good foil in that team for him to run point and be respected as a passer and then have opportunities to score the ball, because he definitely had opportunities the last 2 seasons if he wanted to score, but I think it was just he didn't want to do it. But it's good to see him kind of like blossoming as an offensive player.
Yep.
And then Greta came out and gave it some hustle. He had some pretty terrible games against us in the last 2. Have we played them twice or once? Once or twice?
Played them 3 times.
3 times? One with LaMelo, that was a tight game.
Yeah, I think
92-87. Nah, this was the second game we've played him. So Greta's only had one opportunity. Remember, he was the guy who was like, I want to monster Brian Bowen last season, basically. And anytime Bowen had come out, Greta had come out and just monstered him. He had a pretty good block on jae'sean Tate that was just clearly a foul. And it was a nice highlight. I'm like, yeah, okay, take the highlight. That's nice. But then you watch the replay and just like, all right, he just clearly landed on him. Like, that's a foul. But this game just didn't have, like, it had so much hustle, but then no, like, whistles. Like, it was really refreshing. Like, did you say this game was terrible or the Perth game was terrible? You said Perth game was terrible. This game, like, had hustle and no whistles. And I was like, yeah, nice. This is the way that the game should be reffed. Until the end of this game where an unsportsmanlike was given not an unsportsmanlike, and then they give a less unsportsmanlike as an unsportsmanlike, and you're just like, just don't. Stop this. And we went to the review for like about 8 minutes, and we were just like, stop. The game's over. Like, we don't need to do this.
It's
brutal, man. It's just brutal.
I don't like that part of the FIBA game, that unsportsmanlike. It kind of just ruins the downstretch of games. It's just like, oh, now we've got to sit here for 5 minutes and watch them review what they already know they're going to give, and then no one agree with it. And it's just like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
Because we had Casper had pretty much a shot for 3 with about 30 seconds to go. We were down 2, and he had the lane wide open, and he just didn't take the lane, and tie the game up, let them have another shot. It's 2-for-1 situation too. I think it was about 30 seconds on the shot clock, 30 seconds on the game clock rather. So it was a 2-for-1. We still would have had another shot. It was just a really bad unaware play. He bricked it. Then we had to play the foul game at the end. I think Sean Bruce hit a 3 to kind of keep it tight, and then we had to foul. But we just kept shooting threes, man, at the end of this game. It was just like 3 after 3 after. It's like, get to the rim. Like, can we just stop shooting threes, man? It's just insane. We fell in love with the 3-ball. Struggled down the end of this game. We had Xavier Cooks with a really, really bad turnover, pass to nobody. Actually, it's eerily similar to that David Ware 3, that play where he drove in and just tossed it out to that spot, but the two guys are sort of gone baseline. It looked like to rebound, but he tossed it out. And then Casper Ware had one where the ball went in to him in the corner, up faked but left the floor, and then had to kind of put the ball on the floor, and it was a travel or double dribble or whatever it was. And just bad execution, man. We haven't really seen that much bad execution from Sydney. They've been quite a composed team this season. It's a bit of a worry, man.
It is, but hopefully this is just a slump and they can start to work their way out of it. Hopefully.
Deshaun Taylor still again struggled a little bit. Only 3 points. Casper Ware 8 points. JT again 23 points. Quality. Brad Newley struggling again, man. He missed a few bunnies as well, where you're just like, Brad, mate, what's going on? 1, and then 1 of 5 from 3, struggled. It's a struggle, man. It's a struggle. I don't know if we got Adelaide coming up next, and then I think we're playing Phoenix after that.
Yeah, let's.
New Zealand Breakers and then Phoenix. So we'll go on to MVPs first. We'll do our MVP for Perth.
One where played had a good game against Perth.
I think it's just three for Ware, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. 2 for Shawnee Big Balls Bruce, and 1 for Kick It.
I gotta type it in. So what was it?
Oh, sorry, 3 for Ware, 2 for Big Balls Bruce, and 1 for Cooks. Sorry.
I'm gonna have to just go the same. I just want to give Ware and then nobody else because I don't think anyone else really. Oh no, Bogut was pretty good. I'll give Bogut 2 in the Perth game, and then Bruce 1 round. Sorry, Illawarra.
Tate 3.
JT with the 3.
Definitely. That's kind of where I stop in that game.
Don't worry, man. Surely you got to go Bruce, Kick It, whichever order.
Yeah, I'd probably go Kick It, Bruce.
I'll go Bruce, Kick It. Just to make things interesting. So yeah, we'll give an update when we finally get around to doing our roundtable podcast on. It was supposed to be half season, but now I think it's just going to be like support group. What do we need to fix? And then now we'll go to predictions. And last week was just dreadful for all. I only had 1 point, just absolutely dreadful.
Except for me, because I tipped some bunny
a couple
wins.
of decent tips. You're waiting for me, aren't you?
Yeah.
First one is Bullets at the Taipans.
I'm gonna go the Bullets.
Le Bullets. Over the Taipans in the Brisbane Derby? Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
I'm going Taipans. Now I've watched them lose to the Bullets because I've tipped them. Melbourne at the Hawks.
Melbourne. I think Melbourne can do that.
I'm just going to double check I got these right. Just give me a sec. Yeah, Cairns, Brisbane, Illawarra, Melbourne. So they're at Illawarra. You went Melbourne?
Yes.
I'm going Melbourne as well. 36ers at the Kings. This is a big game for us. We'll talk about this after.
Yeah, Kings.
Yeah,
That's because I
always
have to.
Kings.
Yeah.
You know what? I need points. Man. Should I hedge? I'm going 36ers. Nah, I can't do it, Kings.
You're evil here. No, don't do it.
Only you've done that. What a shame. The next game is the Breakers at the Phoenix.
Breakers.
I'm going Phoenix. Wildcats at the Bullets.
Wildcats.
Cats. And then Hawks at 36ers to finish out the round.
36.
On Monday. Back to work Monday. Boo.
Yes, Boo earns.
I'm going to go Hawks just to sneak in there and win one. Just to sneak in there and I lose tips. So that's the tip. So you should talk just quickly about this Adelaide team. Quietly just playing quite well. 3 losses until their win tonight. 2 wins before that though.
Playing well. I think Sydney matches up quite well against Adelaide. Randall does not play a lot of down screens and he's not like that pure scoring down screen. It's more off the dribble. So he's not really a catch and shoot player, and that kind of suits our style. It's whether we can score on their bigs, and if their Boilermakers get hot. Drimmich.
Drimmich, shout out to Drimmich with his Twitch channel. says 2 guys just talking on a podcast live. This again, man, is Daniel Johnson and Griffin.
And Froling.
Froling seems to play well against us. Like, he seems to hustle and it comes off. I watch him in other games and I'm just like, doesn't work for him. Like, his hustle just goes to waste. But against Sydney, it just seems to come off for some reason. Maybe because we don't have that array of bigs. Ramon Moore's kind of been in the doghouse a little bit. Really, yeah, it's just Johnson. If Johnson can have a decent game, Jack McVeigh and Obi, however you say it, Obi Che, however, he's been decent. So he might be one to watch. He's kind of in the mold of like Kawat Noi or someone like that. Good hustle getting downhill to the rim. And then Randall on Ware seems to have Randall's number. Just quietly,
he does
too.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what I'm hoping anyway.
Are we looking at a high scoring game, you reckon, in this one?
Yeah, I think it'll go above 100.
Above 100. Interesting. It was 98-96 in our last matchup. And then we beat them 102-80 earlier, like in the second game of the season. That was when they just come back from the US, basically.
They didn't have Randall that game either.
No Randall. So yeah, I don't know what else is there to say. Much else. It's just a little bit of a negative.
A little bit negative. We'll aim to get a mid-season pod out this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And wrap or, give all the players grades and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of getting a bit late. Like, we're at game 19. We're coming up to game 20. There's only 8 games to go. Three-quarter health check.
Three-quarter health check it is.
Yeah, it's all good. Anything else we need to talk about? Nothing going on?
That's it, mate. Let's just plug Aussies taking over the NBA while we're here. Shameless plug.
Yep.
Like, share, and subscribe. We do have all the hosting capabilities for that podcast. Yep. So that's on SoundCloud, iTunes, Podcast Addict, any RSS feed podcast app. So check that out. And like, share, and subscribe.
Yep, and as always, like, share, and subscribe on the King's Dime. I'm going to try and do a video on some of the King's struggles, just analysing a little bit. I've set the bar high here. I've clipped a little bit of footage today. I'll gonna clip some footage tomorrow as well. So I think I've seen some things, man. I'm seeing things where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to come straight out and say it.
Mate, the crystal ball. I told everyone that we just let people operate in the mid range, and as soon as someone can score, we're gonna lose. And what's happened? Exactly that.
And yeah, if you look at like Melbourne, we've lost this season to Melbourne, Perth twice, the Taipans, and now the Hawks and the Bullets, all with decent jump shooting bigs, you'd have to say.
Yep. Or float game, not elbow game, but decent scoring bigs.
All right, well, we'll wrap it there, and we will be back probably on the weekend of the day of the game. Or what day is this game on? I'll just double check that. Just quickly. I think it is on Saturday, 8 p.m. That's a late one, so maybe we'll try and bring a podcast that either prep everyone for the game, and we'll be back then, and we will see you guys next time
on the King's Dome.
All right, take it easy, everyone. Have a good night.
See ya.